Hi, I'm Gary Kim, the editor of IP Business Magazine and heavy contributor to TMCnet, here with my partner in crime, Rich Tehrani, who's the Grand Poobah, and Hunter Newby, a mutual friend of long standing, and now a guy who's an entrepreneur, I hear.
Yeah, all over again.
What are you doing?
What am I doing? Beside writing for basically, in conjunction with and for you.
It's a syndicate.
Yeah, it's interesting little trifecta we have here.
I think exactly illegal, but it is a syndicate.
Yeah, are we colluding?
I don't know. I think the regulators probably have bigger targets than
Invisible
us.
collusion.
At least I hope so.
I would hope that.
Petty crime.
We may have to send one of us to Washington.
Right, not me. I don't particularly like it. So, my history from the perspective of networks is that I came out of LDDS WorldCom, and I came out of selling wholesale voice, commercial voice, and then wholesale voice, which I sort of fell into. And also at the time, this is like 1996, I was selling public internet access transit through UUNet, which was at that time purchased by WorldCom, which was part of the MFS deal. Anyway, in New York, doing that, being successful at it, I ran straight into local loops and local access. The problem, the plague of provisioning in telecom, which was a disaster. And I found myself literally going to this one building in the city all the time to figure out how to get my circuits connected from, you know, the WorldCom switch to, or router to the customer side, local access. And that building was 60 Hudson Street. And I spent about 2 years going in and up and down the elevators of the building, trying to resolve these problems. It was very difficult. And out of that, joined Telex, which originally was a 214 common carrier. So we were in the wholesale minute arbitrage business. Started in prepaid, did some switch partitioning, and that lasted from, I'd say, late 97, early 98 to 2000. And in the year 2000, Telex Group Inc. was born. So Telex Group had nothing to do with carrier wholesale business at all in terms of minutes. It was a physical air interconnection business, a real estate business, essentially. And it was very simple. We created a model that made interconnection between networks in that building efficient and easy. We took local loops out of the equation. We had the carriers build into us at least just a DMARC, a presence, an interconnection point. Not their entire switch site, not necessarily all their routers, certainly not the servers. Servers don't belong in interconnection facilities like that in mass. Some servers, but not the data center types. And we created a very elegant, very efficient method for interconnection. And at 60 Hudson Street, which is an amazing facility from the access perspective, undersea cables, metro, regional, long-haul fiber converged there. There's a few buildings like it in the world. We really had the right model, the right place, the right time. So I did that for 10 years. So I just left in March of 2008. Now, if we go back to 2004, Telex acquired a carrier hotel, an entire building in Atlanta, 56 Marietta Street, which is just like 60 Hudson, but it's inland and it's an artery, it's a major interconnection point. And when I was there, during the process of getting to know people in the building and such, I met some folks from the Norfolk Southern Railroad. Norfolk Southern Railroad has a telecom operating entity called T-Cubed. And T-Cubed basically builds duct in rights of way and puts fiber in it to sell to real carriers. T-Cubed itself is not necessarily a carrier. And we had a discussion about the Norfolk Southern system, and this is as they referred to it.
I know where this is going.
The right of way system. This was, keep in mind, Gary, 2004, Progress Telecom on the New York-Miami route, which is really Europe to Latin America, was doing great. The go-go days. And Progress Telecom was a big customer of Telex at 60 Hudson Street. That was one of my favorite ones because they were the first people that really sold wavelengths. It was an interesting time, 2000, 2002, 04. I mean, OC48, OC48, OC48.
The least you can say about that.
Yeah, well, I coming out of wholesale minutes, I refer to that as gunslinging. Yeah. Like literally go and just shoot 'em up deals. And then the most fascinating thing happened where, OCN Transport, just white light was basically, transport du jour. And then all of a sudden people started selling color. They started selling wavelengths. And it was great because Progress was just right on the cusp of transport. And they took the entire East Coast and made it on net. Miami to any point in between New York, or New York any point in between Miami, was the same price. Fascinating, and changed everything about the whole route in the business. Anyway, so I saw this Norfolk Southern system, and they have literally right away dirt that covers the entire East Coast, and it even goes into the Midwest. And they, at the time, had not, quote unquote, perfected it, meaning there were no ducts that ran the whole system. There were pieces, and the pieces were built based upon requests from carriers that needed to go from here to there. No one really looked at it from, you know, the 50,000 foot view, if you will, of New York to Miami. But that's what I saw when I looked at it. But I thought to myself, not today. Progress is doing really well. Wiltel's in there, you know, Broadwing. There's a lot of competition. It's healthy. Well, there's been consolidation. And the consolidation is that Progress, Wiltel, and Broadwing, which are, you know, pretty much the big three that everybody went to, were all bought by Level 3. So now, the Latin Americans and the Europeans that used to have options and choices, a lot of that's been consolidated down to one. And in many cases, particularly in the landing points, those different carriers had built into the landing points, but now all those different carriers are one carrier. So the undersea pieces that come up through the Caribbean from Latin America, etc., and not so much in the Northeast, because a lot of the backhaul from the landing stations, Long Island, New Jersey, it's different carriers, but it's the point from New York to Miami. That's what we're talking about. There's just not a lot of choices.
And so they're going this way. You want to get some guys on a railway car, rip up dirt.
So I started a company. I started the company, as I like to tell people, at the behest of my international customers.
And what's it called?
Allied Fiber. And people said to me, why'd you call it Allied Fiber? I said, for the past 4 months I've been working out this situation with the railroad guys. I didn't know what to call it, so I was just like, it's friendly fiber. Why is it friendly? Because I'm actually going to sell 20-year IRUs on very favorable terms to all the carriers, international, domestic, government,
Sure.
whoever, but on friendly terms, because I'm not a big carrier with lots of overhead. I'm
Right.
me. And I look at this as a construction project. And I look at it as essential, critically necessary.
Level 3, man.
Yeah, and I have a lot of friends there through the years and through acquisitions and stuff, but the fact of the matter is that as we know, IP, growth, utilization of IP, private IP applications, public internet applications, video, which we all talk about a lot, is wreaking havoc. And
Are we part of the problem here?
yeah, this is going to be part of the problem. Uploads, downloads. We are all sinners. We're all sinners. But you know what? You got to get the word out. So I
That's
can't be
true.
like some prude and say, "Oh, I'm not going to do it." I got to get the word out. But the fact of the matter is that video is in certain cases uploads, downloads, live streamed, and peer-to-peer. Instance-based uploads and downloads of multi-megabit files is just going crazy. Peer-to-peer, uncontrollable. You look at the cable networks, the MSOs, and they talk about how much percentage of their internet pipe is currently peer-to-peer and where it's going to. It's squeezing out everything else that possibly has to exist in the public internet. It's like, okay, it's 60% going to 85. That means everything else that's also growing has to now fit in 15%.
Well, let me guess, most of them, except for Kasha, probably buying a lot of IP transit.
Yes.